Welcome to Lab Rat Fun Networking with Fish. What we're going to go ahead and do today is we're going to go ahead and use the IWAN app that is within APIC-EM, and we're going to go ahead and provision the hub in this diagram here. So in the POP, IWAN POP 1 MPLS, this ASR 1002X, that is going to be the DMVPN hub for MPLS. IWAN POP 1 INET, which is an ASR 1002X, which is going to be the DMVPN hub for this ISP link. And we're going to go ahead and also, the IWAN app is over here, we're also going to configure the CSR 1000V, which is going to be running the intelligent path control functionality of the hub master, which is also, of course, the domain master controller, the one master to rule them all with all the policies to rule them all in the entire intelligent path control domain. This is, as you see from the big bold letters, there's December 2015. This is version 1.0. This is brand spanking new right off of the Cisco.com website. And so very new, very exciting. So what we are going to do, as I said, we're going to go ahead and be focusing specifically in this YouTube session just on the hub location. So we're going to go ahead and, again, ASR 1002X, IWAN POP 1 MPLS. It's going to have a WAN interface that faces the MPLS, which is going to be Ethernet. This is the WAN 12.101.101.2. This will be the private. This will be IWAN POP 1 INET. This is going to connect to the public over 164.1.2. This is the WAN interface. We also have a LAN connection that's already going to an existing router over here. This is 10.101.2.2, which is the LAN IP address of this ASR 1002X, which is also going to be the management IP address that we're going to use in the IWAN app to point to in reference to this. And then again, similarly for the ASR 1002X, that's going to be connecting to the ISP link. 10.101.3.2 right here, which will be the management IP address again that we will use. This is the LAN interfaces here. The APIC-EM IWAN app is over here, located at 10.101.30.11. Again, this is a layer 3 switch. I'm going to be running EIGRP between this router here as well as this router, and EIGRP between this one and this one. We also have right over here is just like a little square because the little squares are actually VMs that I have in an ESXi environment. So this is the APIC-EM IWAN app as a VM, the Cisco Prime 3.0, which we're not using during this YouTube, except to point to it as a NetFlow collector. And then right here we have the IWAN master controller. That's the CSR 1000V. It is connected in to this layer 3 switch via LAN IP address 10.101.111.14. What is a CSR 1000V? It is iOS XE in a VM. IWAN app right now is going to be greenfield, so when we actually deploy the remote sites, we're actually going to be doing a plug and play and then deploy of the IWAN configs out there. So while the two ASR 1002Xs actually already have EIGRP in them, the CSR 1000V, the IWAN master controller, is not going to have EIGRP in it because you probably do not have a CSR 1000V right now there today because you don't have a domain master controller. So this is going to be new from a greenfield deployment from an IWAN perspective, so that will not have EIGRP in it. So let's go ahead and go into our environment. So let's start at the master controller. So here is the master controller. So if we do a show ver on the master controller, we'll actually see CSR 1000V, CSR 1000V, and the code version, an iOS XE, which was, it was here somewhere, there it is, iOS XE. And I just did a write erase reload of this so that we can go ahead and start fresh with a greenfield environment. And this is actually what, if you ever hear some people at Cisco or outside of Cisco who do a lot of iOS XE or a lot of IWAN, you may actually hear them refer to the code version as something very new and different to you. So we will tend to refer to, or I will tend to refer to this code train as 3.16.1a. So that's this. Now, what's the interesting thing about the master controller? Sorry, I didn't mean to do that. The interesting thing is if you actually do a show run, it's going to look a lot like what you would think of as a normal router, because it is a normal router. The only thing that kind of sort of tells that it's actually not quite what we're used to for me is if I do a show IP interface brief, because there's no iOS XE box that I know of, no 4300, no 4400, that has simple interfaces like this. So this is 172.26. Actually, if you do a show run interface gigabit 1, this is actually our internal out-of-band management IP address range that we use for, again, internally to CPOC for our scripts to runs and stuff. This is not accessible to the internet. These are all internal IP addresses. So if we actually do a show run, what we're going to see is looks just like a regular iOS XE box, service config, blah, 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 IWAN POP1 master controller, and a gigabit interface. This is my out-of-band management network, and this is our connection that goes at layer 3 switch. And I do have a static route. Again, we're not doing EIGRP here. So I do have a static route. So here's the question. The question is, can I actually get to 10.101.30.11? So let's go ahead and see if I can get to, so let's do a ping 10.101.30.11. Yes, I can get to that, and I always tend to do a write mem when I'm getting out of a box, when I'm doing show and tells and plays. I tend to sometimes make config changes and forget things, so I'm down with ADD. So this is my ASR 1002X, again 3.16.1, ASR 1002X right here. Now, one thing you'll also notice is that in the CSR 1000V, I'm actually running license AX, and over here I'm actually running license Advanced Enterprise. With the 4300s and the 4400s, you'll be running license AX as well, just like with the CSR 1000V. So if we go ahead and come here, and let's also try to ping 10.101.30.11, and I can ping, so if we do a show run, we'll see that I actually have a management out-of-band management interface as well. And these are my varying licenses and my gigabit interface. And this is my WAN interface and my EIGRP. So if I actually do a show IP EIGRP neighbors, you'll see that I actually have an EIGRP neighbor specifically with that layer 3 switch. And I think that I've already pinged that. And so I think that's all we're going to do for here. And then let's go ahead and go over to this one as well. Do show IP EIGRP neighbor, ping 10.100.30.11. And of course that is actually the wrong IP address. Let's try that again. That's the right IP address. That's the APIC-EM. And if we look here and do a show run, not very overly exciting. Just have IP addresses, and I have my out-of-band management. This is my LAN interface. This is my WAN interface. And this is my out-of-band management network for the CPOC, my EIGRP. Really nothing overly exciting. And so we're going to go ahead and come over here. And what we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and shift. So as I said, we're going to go ahead and go into the APIC-EM IWAN app. And we're going to go ahead and configure this. So if you'd like to, what I might suggest is go ahead and get a screen capture and print this out while you're going through this. Oopsie-daisy, that's not what I wanted. Okay, here we go, APIC-EM. So So if you see right here, APIC-EM version is actually 10130, so brand new, stuff you probably haven't seen yet. So we're going to go ahead and I'm going to go to, let's see, what do I want to do? I think I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do something that I'm going to want to have done later. It's not necessarily going to help us too much right now, but it is something that I want to do later, so I don't want to forget. So let's go ahead and come in here, admin, and then Cisco 123, Cisco 123, enable password is Cisco 123, Cisco 123. So let's go ahead and add that. Adding device credentials right up there. And now let's go ahead and go into SNMP v2 and click down. So this is the read community, so RO, whoops, it is the RO and public and save. Adding read community, let's go to the right community and read write and private and save. Adding right community. So I think that's all I really wanted to do. Yep, that's it. So now let's go ahead and go right into the IWAN app. So if we actually kind of sort of move over here and scooch, you can actually see home, discovery, device, inventory, host inventory, topology, IWAN. I don't really have anything yet. This was literally just brought up. This is brand spanking new. And so hub site is not configured. Please configure the hub. So you see we have this little arrow that actually tells us over here, set up hub sites and settings, not configured, 0 scheduled jobs, administrative policies, set up branch sites, etc., etc. So we're going to go ahead and go in here. Now, NetFlow collector. So this is the system. We're going to go ahead and do the NetFlow collector. And for right now, we'll just go ahead and go to that prime box, 35. So 10.101, 111.35. And we're going to do CPOC.com. And the read community is going to be public. And if we actually go over here, you can come here, you can do show more, you can do whatever, you can do next. There are tons of different ways to do this. What we're going to go ahead and do is go with the completely, totally automated way. So let's go ahead and say that we're going to do 10. Now I only have, remote site count, I only have 3 branches, but we'll do 10. Number of service providers. So the number of service providers we have is actually 2. We have 1 MPLS and we have 1 INET. Now this is an interesting thing here. So it's like, okay, so add address pool, upload an address pool, download an address pool. So what are these things? So let's look at this and do download address pool. We'll see that it just went ahead and went down. So let's go look at that. So let's go ahead and open this. Now what we'll actually notice here is that this is controller version 10130. The CSV file being uploaded should have the following columns. So it'll actually tell you what the column should be. So serial number. You could, of course, put this all on pause and read this for yourself. So I'm just going to go ahead and kind of extend this out, move this over, give you a little show and tell. You can pause this at any time. Now, if we actually look right down here, this is actually a serial number. So here's the generic IP addresses. So the generic IP addresses are going to be 10.0.0.0. So that's going to be the generic IP addresses. So we're going to go ahead and the tunnels, the DMVPN tunnels and such, things that are really just used as transport. So that's just going to go ahead and be 10 from the 10 network range. And if you were to use this, LAN interfaces in the 20 range. And then if we actually look here, this is going to be San Jose. And so San Jose, this is actually, if you had put this serial number in, it would actually come up giving it a site name of San Jose. And also at that location where the serial number is actually going to match that device, the IP in VLAN, it would create a VLAN 2456 data, if it had to be a VLAN, and then it's going to be 30.0.0.0, right? And so that is actually going to be, so if you actually know what you want to do and you want to have the serial number, and then this is the unique site name for the branch location. And let's go back down and go back into our APIC-EM. Now, we're not actually going to do this. What we're going to do is we're going to go ahead, like I said, so instead of doing an upload, so you can download an address pool, fill it all in, and then you can do an upload. What we're going to go ahead and do is we're just going to go ahead and do it the simple, super duper way and just kind of sort of get around and have fun and learn about this. So generic 10.99.0.0. So the 10.99.0.0, what is that going to be? Basically, what's going to happen is everything, my DMVPN tunnels, things that are just being generically used to get the IWAN going, is going to go ahead and use this, this address range. And then if we go ahead and add another address pool, we're going to get a LAN interface pool. So you already saw this in the CSV. There was a generic, there was a LAN. So what we're going to do for the LAN is we're going to go with 10. Now 101 is my hub site. So my favorite number is actually 14. So we'll have all of the LAN stuff be in the 14 range. So for grins and giggles. We also have this add site address pool. So you could have gone ahead and instead of doing the upload, you could have gone ahead and done serial number, site name, IP address pool, prefix, VLAN type, and then actually put in the VLAN type that it is data, guest, wireless, voice, video, whatever. But for us, that's good enough for now. So we're going to go ahead and say, yeah, that's good. And if I did another address pool, it would be another LAN interface one. So we're going to go ahead and say, no, we don't want to do that. So we're good with what we have. And so we're going to go ahead and go to next. These are the available QoS models for the service providers. So let's see, what would this one look like? So let's look at this one. This one actually has voice 10, interactive 30. Now let's see, is this voice actually being prioritized? Let's show advanced. Yes, the voice is being prioritized. In fact, the voice is EF. Priority class is definitely there. 10% bandwidth, interactive video, AF 41. Streaming video, no, I don't want that one. Let's do, you know what, I think I want to do the default 6 class model, voice, video, and then I can kind of sort of control what I want here. So we'll go ahead and hide the advanced. Now another thing you could have done was you could have gone ahead and in here come up with a new model. The class model would be based on the 6 class model, but you could actually change what you want in here. But we're going to say no, we're going to go ahead and go with the 6 class model. So we're good with that. So we can go ahead and go to next. And now the fun begins. So here we go. We got one data center, because we're going to keep this nice and simple right now. Hub. I am a huge fan of an external master controller. Doing external master controller, CSR 1000V is fantastic if you already have some type of environment that you can do some kind of clustering and use your virtualization server team skill set to go ahead and make it a high priority VM. That would be just stellar. So we got a master controller here and we have 2 borders. So let's go ahead and go into this. Let's do the master controller first. Now the router management IP address, what was that router management IP address again? So let's go ahead and look at your diagram, but I think it is 10.101.111.14. So let's just go ahead and take a quick peek. 10.101.111.14. Now the good news is, of course, it's also going to make us validate. So let's go ahead and click validate here. Now actually, originally what had happened, I'm going to go ahead and fill this stuff in while I'm talking to you. Read community. Oh, I guess I can't talk and type at the same time. Public. Someone's going to come up to me with some time at Cisco Live and say, it's such a shame you can't spell the word public. Admin. Cisco 123. Cisco 123. going to go ahead and do an add device. Now what I have noticed is the first time this takes a little bit longer. So let me just tell you this real quick. When I actually did this a couple weeks ago when this first came out and I did validate, my CSR 1000V and my two ASR 1002Xs were actually running code version 3.16.00, which actually came out prior to the APIC-EM IWAN app going GA. And so what basically happened is that when I went through this a couple weeks ago, it actually told me, oh, it's invalid. You have to have the minimum code train of 3.16.1. So I do like that it actually goes ahead and tries to, as it's doing your intelligent WAN decision making at the WAN edge and pushing that out into your environment, it is also, of course, doing some compliance checking to make sure that everything is good. Okay, so perfect timing. So there we go. So now what happens is it goes ahead and it's validated it and it's giving you this little activity thing. Basically, you'll see it circling when it's actually trying to push something out there. And then it'll turn orange. Cool. So let's go ahead and go into here. And so the router IP management, so we already know it's 10.101.114, which actually is also the LAN IP address that we want to do. So let's save that. And now it'll go ahead and have a little check mark next to it. So now we're going to go ahead and come over here, router IP management, and that is going to be 10.101.2.2. And let's go ahead and do a validate. And we can go ahead and actually keep all of the settings that we had already used since all my settings are consistent. And go ahead and add device. So adding device. And there we go. And it's spinning again. And it's spinning. And it's there we go. Okay, so let's go ahead and go in here. And so this is again, the router IP management. Remember, we were actually using for the LAN IP, we were actually using the same. We were using the router IP management for the with the LAN IP address. So we'll just go ahead and go on with that. So now if we come over here, we're going to go ahead and have this be the MPLS connection. So we'll say MPLS. And if you recall correctly, I wanted to actually use the default class 6 model, so I liked that model better. And that's got a little, of course that doesn't take any time because we're not provisioning your MPLS service provider. I don't think they want to let us. So now we're going to go ahead and say configure the WAN link in between. So it already is realizing that it has an IP address 12.101.101.2. And it'll give you the drop down, but it already knows that it only has 2 interfaces that aren't in VRFs, the LAN interface and the WAN interface. And notices that the other one is my out-of-band management connection, 172.26. So it's just using the process of elimination, which one do you want to go ahead and use. So my gateway is actually going to be the MPLS service provider. My bandwidth will go ahead and be 10 megabits per second. So symmetric bandwidth, there we go, hold on. Symmetric bandwidth for upload and download. So we'll go ahead and go on. So check mark, check mark, check mark, check mark. Now we'll go ahead and come over here and 10.101.3.2. Validate. Same things again. And adding device. And we're spinning. And we're spinning. And up any second now. There it goes. So, okay. So LAN is going to be the 10.101 backwards. And this is going to be the ISP connection. So this is the public. And we'll call it INET. And go ahead and do save. And then connect this. And this is going to be 100.64.1.1. Now right now I'm not actually doing any NAT. This is my first time actually going through the full deployment. My last time going through the full deployment was actually right prior to the GA release for the first version of the release. Now if we go ahead and go here, Routing protocol, EIGRP. What is the autonomous system number? We're going to actually pick 14. Now, the data center prefix. So the data center prefix is going to actually be 10.101.0.0/16. So when it says the data center prefix, what it is asking for is a set of prefixes. As you saw, there was a little plus arrow there. So a set of prefixes that we can represent as this is the data center. So 10.101.0.0 and then 16. So save and next. And these are all the different boxes as far as APIC-EM IWAN app version 1.0. It's greenfield, and it's also 4300s and 4400s at the branch locations for right now. Apply changes. So apply now, schedule. If you want to go ahead and look through the whole thing, port number. So we're going to go ahead and say apply now, and we're going to click continue. And up here it'll say the configurations have been successfully submitted. So we go to OK. Then we're going to get brought back to here, in progress, in progress. Yeah, there we go. And we saw the little circle. That was kind of neat. It's like, okay, you're done here. Now come here. So we could actually go to the audit logs. And we could actually figure out what has been going on ever since I brought this up earlier tonight. So this is going to be, we added the device IWAN POP1 has been added, blah, 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 blah. As you can see, the most recent ones are actually up here. So we add the device IWAN 2 POP1 MC to the hub, successful. You can go ahead and sometimes there's additional stuff to put on in here. But this is all successful, and we really have nothing much to say about it. So all these were added successfully. We only get a little bit more verbose right here. Network-wide settings provisioned, provisioning request received, policy enforcement in the hub, default policy, business policy created, provisioning at the hub, reserved IP pool, creation of IP pool. So let's go ahead and actually go into the boxes. Since I don't have Prime set up right now, normally we would go ahead and deploy with this and then have Prime go ahead and do the monitoring. But let's go ahead and actually see what happened here. So I just got kicked out of my domain master controller. Actually, that had nothing to do, as you see, it was just I'm telnetted to it, as opposed to with these other ones I'm actually into the console connection. I could do that, of course, with the master controller as opposed to telnetting, but the only issue with that is that I would have to then open up the vSphere and go to Open Console there, so a lot easier to telnet to. So let's compare the configs from before to the configs now. Okay, not a lot new has happened here. So now we have actually a domain, and these are actually all of the different policies that by default got created. This was not here before, right? Domain 1, VRF default, master hub, source interface, site prefixes, all of this is all done for you. We also actually, if you actually notice here, 10.101.30.11, correct? So the APIC-EM is also going to be our cert. And it also created, I told you before, that the CSR 1000V did not have any EIGRP in it before. And now it has EIGRP. So show IP EIGRP neighbors, and there's our EIGRP neighbor. Again, that was not there before. So now we're back over here at the ASR 1002X. So what I'm expecting is that we should actually have some kind of DMVPN tunnel now, which we did not have before. We should also actually have certs, we should have a front door VRF, and we should also have the PFR domain configs. Let's start with the PFR domain configs first. So if I do a show run section domain, this is the intelligent path control PFR domain configs. So domain 1, VRF default, border, this is my source interface. Remember I told you from a generic perspective, I have 1099 actually in the range for this. So if we do a show IP route, we're going to see that we actually do have 1099.066 in here. Let's also do a show, so our domain's name is domain 1. Let's do a show domain. You do have a question mark, we can say 1. Now, what are we here? We are a border here. Remember, the ASR 1002X is the border. As one of my customers says, the borders take the orders. The orders, of course, are coming like any SD solution, and this is an SD-WAN solution. We have the brain, which is the master controller elsewhere. So we're going to go ahead and we are a border. So let's go ahead and do a border, and here are all the different commands. As you can see, I'm quite the CLI girl. And so we can actually do a status. So the instance is up. This is all new. The present state was just up 5 minutes ago. We are connected with our master. This is the domain master controller. We are connected with our master. And we actually also, by the way, have a tunnel interface. We have a tunnel interface 10. And so the tunnel interface is new. All of this is new. So let's go ahead and actually go over here. So show run section domain. So show domain 1, border, status. Instance is up. This is my master. Master version is 2. I'm connected up and successfully with my master. All my requirements are met. And I have a tunnel 11 interface. So let's go ahead and do let's go ahead and look at we have no one we're talking to. But if we also do a show VRF, if we do a show VRF, we also are doing, with the APIC-EM IWAN app, we're also doing that front door VRF thing. So we are actually switching the WAN interface over into a front door VRF, making basically the transport independence nature out of it. So we're actually putting that over into a VRF, and that was all done for us, and we're actually running over that. And so if we actually came back over here to where the domain master controller is, and if we now say show domain, because the borders are saying, you know what, I'm talking to my master. Well, let's see, are they talking to me? So show domain 1, master, status. Okay, well, I'm the master, I'm up, my instance is up, I'm operationally up, I'm configured to be up. My last period was period successful. Load balancing is enabled by default. We can go ahead and look into that later. This is my external collector, so I'm going to go ahead and let everyone know about that as well. And I actually have, and let's just scooch this over here. So I have this border right here, which is tunnel 11. So was that MPLS or was that INET? Well, we can look right here. It was INET. And what is that? So this is the tunnel 10. This is my other border. And I can actually also do one other thing, which I really like, which is show domain exits. I'm going to strongly say, because if you saw that we actually put the bandwidth statements in there, you know, your service provider is MPLS, okay, that's 10 meg. The INET was 100 meg. Awesome. So what happened with that information? So let's go ahead and look. Master, exit. So that actually got put onto the tunnels. So what did we say? We said the MPLS is 10 meg. We said the INET is 100 meg. So again, what IWAN will also do, as you can see from some of the stuff in networking with Fish, is we will actually look at, once we actually get some traffic up and running, we will actually look at the bandwidth of the egress utilization going out there and try to make some intelligent decisions at the WAN edge. So that's it. We are done. We have our hub location configured. The next thing we're going to go ahead and do, and we could go ahead and look into the administrative application policies. and decide what we want to do with our administrative application policies. So while it's telling us we could go ahead and set up the branch, instead, we also could go ahead and do the administrative application policies, because the IWAN app is going to go ahead and it's going to come in here and it's going to say, okay, we're going to assume that certain things are business critical, other things are scavenger, other things are default. So you've got the backup and storage, and we've got the voice and video. So if we actually looked over here at the voice and video, we could go ahead and say, you know, well, let's go ahead and look at this business critical stuff. So we have business critical, scavenger, default. So if we actually look at the voice and video, so what's the default behavior? What the default behavior is going to be. So you can start poking around in this. The default behavior that the IWAN app pushed out there immediately was to go ahead and just say, you know what, the business critical is business critical, and as such, we're going to go ahead and we're going to go across your MPLS link. What were the options there? Well, you could have gone ahead and said MPLS or INET, or you know what, I have no path preference or whatever. Again, this is actually, we don't have to have a path preference. This is scavenger class. We don't really care what happens to them at all. There is nothing done here. So what does that mean? There's no application performance done here. What does that mean? Well, if we came over here, we're actually doing application performance. These are being identified as we're going to control them. We are going to go ahead and figure out how they're doing, figure out how the application is performing, and try to steer away from delay, loss, jitter, impairment in the cloud in the middle. Our hub is done. We are good to go. And we have configured our hub to support IWAN. Next, I don't know. I'm either going to go ahead and bring a branch up, or I might start playing with the applications. I have absolutely no idea. Have fun with your APIC-EM, have fun with learning, and again, another day Lab Rat Fun networking with Fish, and I'm out.